Hey everyone, Rich Gasaway here. Before I start today's episode, I want to let you know that I have a few program openings left in November and December for Situational Awareness Matters programs. Has your department hosted a Situational Awareness Matters tour stop event yet? No, you haven't? Seriously? What are you waiting for? Did you know that issues related to situational awareness, or the barriers that flaw awareness, are implicated in nearly every significant first responder casualty report? It's a really, really big deal. The problem is most first responders know so little about it. They think so long as they pay attention or keep their head on a swivel that they have good situational awareness. And as anyone who's attended any of my programs can tell you, this simply is not the case. Sure, paying attention is an important part of situational awareness development, but it isn't all of it. There's so much more to it. Those who think that paying attention is what it's all about are simply uninformed. Don't be uninformed on a topic this important, a topic that can literally save your life. There's too much at stake, as situational awareness serves as the foundation for good decision-making, and it's the decision-making that drives the actions that lead to successful outcomes or catastrophic outcomes. If you're interested in hosting a program, go to the SA Matters website and click on the Contact Us link, and I'll get something set up for you right away. Today's episode is sponsored by Midwest Fire. For more than 20 years, Midwest Fire has been manufacturing high-quality tankers, tanker pumpers, and fire rescue vehicles in the United States and Canada. Keeping firefighters safe while enhancing their capabilities is what they do best. To learn more, go to MidwestFire.com.
This is Captain Jason Nesbitt from the County of Grand Prairie Regional Fire Service, and you are listening to the SA Matters radio show with Dr. Richard Gasaway. The SA Matters mission is simple. They want to help us see the bad things coming in time to avoid bad outcomes.
Hello and welcome to episode 119 of the Situational Awareness Matters radio show. I'm your host, Rich Gasaway. The purpose of this show is to improve situational awareness and decision-making for individuals and teams who work in high-risk, high-consequence environments. The SA Matters mission is simple: to help you see the bad things coming and time to avoid bad outcomes. I'm coming to you today from Shawnee, Oklahoma, where I'm in town to deliver a situational awareness program for the Shawnee Fire Department. Thank you, David Underwood, for your efforts to bring this valuable training to your members and others in the region. If you're interested in attending an upcoming Situational Awareness Matters tour stop, head over to the SA Matters website and click on the blue box on the right side of the homepage labeled Upcoming Events Schedule. More than 500 agencies on 4 continents have hosted Situational Awareness Matters tour stop events. I mentioned at the top of the program that I'm booking programs for the fall of 2016. I'm also actively booking programs for 2017. So if you're interested in 2017, contact me now to get on the schedule. Here's a tip how you can host a program at a reduced cost. I schedule many what I call companion programs. These are programs on adjoining days to other programs. So if you see I'm delivering a program within a couple hours of your department and you think you might want to tag along as a companion, contact me. You can save as much as 20% off the program cost by being a companion to an existing program. That's what I did a couple weeks ago when I was in Texas. I did a program for the Texas Interagency Mutual Aid Association Conference, and Sci-Fair saved some money by tagging along as a companion. And then I did it again when I was at Eastern Michigan University in Ypsilanti, and Brighton Area Fire tagged along as a companion. And then I did it again right after that when I did a program for the Montana Fire Alliance, and the Spokane Fire Department tagged along as a companion. If you want to be put on the Let Me Know when you're going to be in my area list, just contact me through the SA Matters website. Okay, in today's feature segment, it is part 2 of an interview with Division Chief Dan Phannenstiel from the West Metro Fire Rescue Department in Colorado. They had 2 multi-alarm fires and a very significant near-miss event. On January 18, 2009, the West Metro Fire Department responded to a multi-alarm fire in a garden-style apartment building. They had just returned from that call when they were dispatched to another multi-alarm, wind-driven, multiple residential dwelling fire. This is part 2 again of the interview. And in part 1, we discussed the 2 fires. And here in part 2, we're going to discuss the lessons learned from this near miss. Let's jump right in to the interview.
It wasn't, I'm not proud that it happened. I understand how it happened. And like you and I had dialogue at your seminar and also off the air earlier, one of the questions really comes up is, did the first fire factor into the decision-making or the overstimulation or the fatigue factor in the second fire? And the answer is I don't know, but I can't believe that it doesn't factor in somehow. And I think it's probably worth, dissecting to some extent.
Well, there's no doubt that fatigue will impact information processing, let alone, also, physical impacts and stuff too. But cognitively, fatigue really slows down the processing of information. And, this being the second significant working fire back to back, almost now the middle of the night, you can't help but think whether you could pinpoint or actually put your finger right to it, that there, it is plausible that there would be some fatigue factor there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember the follow-up interview with the nearmiss.com folks, and they're like, were you tired? And I'm like, didn't feel tired, Yeah,
I don't know that you would feel tired in the moment, because you're going to have some, adrenaline flowing, and that's going to, heighten your level of alertness. And, can you imagine I can't ever even think back to a fire where I was in the act of working a fire and thinking, boy, am I tired? As soon as the fire was over, then I might have been like, dang, I'm tired. But that doesn't mean when I went back to the station that I could go back to sleep either. I could have been, I had been many times very tired, but you get back and you get such an energy level from the adrenaline that was flowing during the incident that it is hard to even, bring yourself down to a resting state.
Yeah, and that is so true. I mentioned earlier that we're on a 4896 work schedule, and this fire, or these 2 fires, happen to really occur within that first 24-hour cycle. And so the next question is how do you prepare for the next 24-hour cycle?
Right.
And that's a really difficult, complicated question and answer because of firefighter culture and the desire not to raise your hand and say, we're tired. There's certainly a little bit of like, let's hope we don't have back-to-back fires again. And at the time, our policy was that if you didn't have much downtime, the first fire, or somebody recognized you could be fatigued, we would rotate you to another slower fire station and bring those people over, which in theory sounds great, but you're disrupting the firefighters out of their station. Not that it's a walk of shame, but they would rather stay within their own station and try to get some downtime. But there's no guarantee they're going to get downtime at either station. So specifically for this instance, I remember us taking one of the rigs out of service and calling back overtime so these guys could get some downtime. But we didn't do that for everybody on this fire, and we've never done that since. Certainly that has a financial impact. I think it's probably the safest thing to do. But having said that, just because you're out of service doesn't mean you're going to get all that adrenaline out of your system and you're going to be able to lay down and actually get good rest.
That's right.
And I'm fully aware of that. Like, I don't think any of us slept even the second night because of what occurred the night before.
Oh, yeah, I could see that.
And honestly, I think the 4896 is it's tough for that reason. Like we don't know what we don't know, and I think that's fair to say. Where I think it can get completely dicey on a work cycle is that fourth quarter, I'll call it, but that last 12 hours of that 48-hour shift. Mm-hmm. When you know you're going home at 7 o'clock in the morning, but you still have 12 hours of work ahead of you, and you don't know what that looks like. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So that factors into it as well. And I know that the 4896 schedule is, somewhat vogue around the nation. But depending on where you work and the call volume and all that kind of stuff, even a 24-hour shift or a 12-hour shift may be too much at times as well.
Mm-hmm. I I agree. Depending on what we would call the average workload, because right. This incident is not even, it's well beyond average workload for your crews. Even if they were working if they were working just a 12-hour shift, say they come in at 10 p.m. and left at 10 a.m. just hypothetically, right. Having two multi-alarm working fires back to back in the middle of the night is just clearly an above average workload on these crews. Now, you had done right. a lessons learned document that was prepared by you, and then it was peer reviewed, and that's probably one of the best practices that I would hope that departments would do, is when they have a near miss, is not just shuffle it under the table and say, okay, well, we all survive, so let's move on, and they don't learn from it. So right. You had the initiative to say, no, there's things to be learned from this, and you documented it well and shared it out. So talk us through the process of how you prepared the lessons learned document. Did you interview people, or was it all just your perspective and point of view? How did you talk us through how somebody would do this if they have a near miss based on how you did this, and then we'll circle back to actually what lessons you learned.
Right. Yeah. It's a collaborative effort. The lessons learned, I guess, template or policy and process that was put in place was actually something that I developed as a result of a college class, maybe a year prior to that. So I was really interested in the whole concept of lessons learned and making sure that there was a cycle between the experience and going back to learning, including human involvement, which would consider supervision and organizational components and unsafe acts and preconditions and equipment and so on and so forth. So all the contributing factors. And then a little bit of a slant, like a SWOT analysis, like, what went well and what didn't go well, and what didn't go well should be our opportunity to improve. So, I guess a lot of the meat of the lessons learned, at least from an executive summary standpoint, is the result of talking to the other chief officers, the other division supes, and the other officers about what worked and what did you struggle with. But from a broad perspective, we tried to chunk that down in, kind of like the response, the command structure, communications, whether or not we had safety, whether or not we were operating in the right, at the time, command mode, were we in the right strategy. But more importantly, did our tactics support the strategy and the operational principles that we selected? Mm-hmm. And then we just weeded through it and said, you know what, we didn't have any problems here. This worked really well. We had a good outcome, and this is an area where we didn't have a good outcome, and why is that? And then we would try to stipulate how we'd correct that. Sometimes it was a policy change. Sometimes it was, we're going to give this to the training division in hopes that we can get increased training in this area so that we don't, revisit this the next time. Mm-hmm. But our lessons learned document stands as it does today. We don't do it on every fire by any stretch of the imagination, but we do it on big events, or what we consider low-frequency, high-risk events.
So what were the lessons learned from this one?
Yeah, I don't want to bore everybody and go through everything, but by any stretch of
That's not what you're not going to bore us. That's what you're here to do, is just tell us what your takeaway and what you learned from it.
Yeah, we piecemealed some of the resource ordering, and I think it's better just to go, you know what, I need a second alarm or I need a third alarm, let's just do it. So piecemealing an alarm adds to some of the chaos. So that was sort of the resource component of a missed opportunity. If we talk a little bit about the command structure, certainly having the initial size up on the wrong channel didn't help. And as a result of that, we got a little bit behind the communication power curve with other units coming in. So that's something that you really have to, have ownership on, is if, when you get on scene and you make the announcement of what your plan and what your strategy is and what the supporting tactics are, that only works if everybody hears you. And in this case, some of the crews weren't aware of what was going on, which at some point led to some of the confusion. And that just rolls us right on into the communication piece of it. From a technical standpoint, we would have been better if we would have said, hey, Charlie 1, go to channel 4, Bravo, Division Bravo, go to channel 5, but use multiple channels so that we didn't have so much radio traffic on the single tactical channel. But from an internal communication piece, and this is what I write, is that the sender must be clear as to what they are asking for when they inform others about what's going on. And even if the receiver acknowledges that, we have to make sure that there's an action that matches the dialogue that took place. So in my case, I told them that we had people on the inside and we had aerial apparatus getting ready to go into play. He acknowledged it, but I need to close that loop with, are we going to do something about it? And if not, then I should on my end. So that internal communication loop has to be concise, clear, and in this case, actionable. Mm-hmm. Anytime you have a scene that chaotic and rapidly expanding, it is way too much for one safety officer. So one of the lessons we learned is we have to have multiple safety officers, and where you place them is going to enhance the safety. And honestly, when you've got divisions on the backside, and on both exposures in the front, I don't think it's out of line to say you need a safety officer for every division, which is really that hazard zone management blue card concept that's starting to make the push across the nation. And my hat's off to them. They recognize that you really do need a safety officer within every hazard zone, and I would agree with that. Mm-hmm. So that was certainly an operational takeaway on how we could improve. We could have done so much better with rehab. We could have done so much better with accountability and PARs. That goes without saying, in every large structure fire. I do think from an operational principle standpoint, and this ties into the communication, when you change from an operational objective of life safety to incident stabilization, and you change from offensive to defensive, I think it is absolutely imperative that that announcement is made and people understand it. And if we would have done that, if we would have said, hey, look, all lives have been saved that can be saved, we are now going to go to incident stabilization, and the strategy is going from offensive to defensive, and then people, division soups, were accountable to their, to the people that were managing those tactics below them, then we wouldn't have had this event occur. Mm-hmm. So, one of NIOSH 5 is communications, and I think you see that playing out here. When you shift objectives or shift strategies, you have to have clear, concise communication. Mm-hmm. And I believe you can, be defensive on the fire unit and offensive on the exposures. I'm okay with that concept, mm-hmm. but because it's risky, you have to have really good oversight and really good communication. And in this case, we didn't have that, and the result was, a mismatch, and we almost got some guys seriously hurt. But, additional takeaways were some some of our guys, pulled hand lines, like 1.75 inches, which just didn't do anything to that, to the BTUs being pulled off. So when you come on scene and you see a fuel package of that size burning, you have to start thinking 2.5. And if you're going to think 2.5, you want to maximize it, so get the right tip on there. And if I had to do it over again, when I was on the Charlie side, I said, hey, I need a 2 or 3, 2.5 stretch to this backside for exposure control. If I had to do it over again, I would have said, bring me a portable monitor, because I think we would have maximized our efficiency with those 2.5s if we would have had it all going into a portable monitor and got more fire flow out of it.
Now, question for you. With that much fire on initial arrival, why do you think they pulled 1.75 lines instead of 2.5s or just going straight to master streams? What do you think compelled that?
Yeah, and I remember having the dialogue with them, and it's what's handy for us, and it's what we do a lot of. Mm-hmm. And so some guys pulled 2.5s off the first engine, and other people went and grabbed what was handy, and that was the 1.75. And honestly, I don't know if they thought they were going to break that down and go into the Delta 1 exposure and put out fire on the inside or not. But as we found since then, the more we discuss the use of 2.5s based on what's burning, the better we've become at making the appropriate nozzle and hose handline selection. So we've seen a change in that, and we've trained on it as well.
Good. That's what I was just suggest is practicing the physical skill of pulling the big lines. Because in training, a lot of times we don't do that. I mean, we might have discussed that even during the class. We develop these small line habits because we don't see those size fires, and then we arrive at those bigger fires and we deploy the small line habits that we have developed and reinforced over and over and over again, not only at smaller incidents but during training as well.
Right, yeah. If you're lucky enough to put out a big fire with a small hand line, it reinforces that worked.
Yeah.
But you may not get away with it the next time.
Right.
And, it's somewhat anecdotal, but, you always like to tell the younger guys, hey, look, until you've seen a fire, or until you've been involved in a firefight where the hand line doesn't affect change, you don't understand the importance of pulling a bigger line. Mm-hmm. But once you do that, you get it. It gets loaded in your hard drive, as it should. But making that transition, part of that's staffing numbers, I think, but part of that's onus on culture in the fire service, and even making sure that the company officers are well versed in what they're arriving on and what their capabilities are. I think, if you need to be mobile and fast, the 1.75 has a lot of merit, but when you pull up on a scene like this and you've got that much fire, in my mind, it has to be a 2.5 or a deck gun or greater. Otherwise, you're just wasting your time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I agree. Yeah.
So I was it was a while ago. It was in 2009, but the event was so monumental in my mind when it comes to being I think we have to recognize the fact that I don't care if you've got 15 years on the job, 5 years on the job, or 35 years on the job. We have got to learn from our mistakes and improve and make sure that doesn't happen again. And that event, or that night, because of the two events, has resonated in my mind for a long time. And I think it's an important story to say. We as chief officers or division soups, we have an obligation not only to be situationally aware and recognize, but we also have to have the ability to stop and act at the moment. Just recognizing it and announcing it's not enough. Mm-hmm. Stopping it is what takes place. Mm-hmm. It's going to make everybody safer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, spot on.
Yeah. So good lesson for me, and I'm glad everybody's alive.
Yeah. Well, thank you for stepping up. We had had a conversation during the program or on a break when I was at when we were at the program at Castle Rock, Colorado. And you said, I had this incident, and here's kind of what happened. But then, I don't know if you remember, you said, but that was a long time ago. Like 2009 was like forever ago. And I don't know if you want something that's that old. And it's like, that's not that old. And so I really appreciate you willing to follow up and step up and say, look, we learned some things, and we'd like others to have those takeaways, because someone else might end up tonight, or not tonight. Well, yeah, tonight, if they listen to the episode when it airs, the night the episode airs, they might have a similar event where your lessons will resonate with them, and they'll take a different action that could prevent something bad from happening. And that's the whole premise of this near-miss conversation that I have with people like you, to say, there were opportunities to do things in a different way, and other people need to learn that, not just our department. And it takes a lot of courage for people to step up, and especially as I heard you say, to your own admission of, when you say I could have done something different, I could have done something better. Boy, Dan, there's a lot of people that just won't. Those words will just never pass their lips, which is tragic, but it's true.
Yeah, I think that, that's an area where the fire service needs to be better holistically across the nation. There is this concept and fear that if we say we did something wrong, the world's going to come to an end. And I think we look at it wrong. There can be legal ramifications, but that happens so seldom in the fire service that I think we use that as a hurdle or a crutch. Mm-hmm. Almost every mission statement or guiding principle or website at any organization talks about transparency. But talk is cheap. We actually have to be transparent if we're going to move this fire service forward. And and you're doing as well by hosting podcasts and making people situationally aware, because without using your catchphrase, it does matter.
Yeah, I think it not only. Thank you for that. But what I think really matters is they hear it from you instead of from me. They hear it from the people who are on the sharp end of these events. I'm retired. I'm a has-been. All I do now is just facilitate the lessons. I'll take the lessons that you share here, and the next class I'm at, I'll talk about the podcast and something that you shared as your lesson learned. So I'm just kind of the conduit now. But for these people to hear from the people who are literally, bunkered out on the sharp end of these decisions, that's really where it matters to them, because then they listen to you and they say, that guy's just like me. That could happen to me. And I think that so many think that if they admit that there was an opportunity for them to do something different or better, that they're afraid that people will judge them as a poor leader or a weak leader. And I think just quite the opposite is the truth, is when a leader can say, I had an opportunity to do something different or do it better, and I learned from this, and I'm smarter now, and I know now to do things differently the next time. I think that's a sign of a strong leader.
Well, good. I appreciate that, and I hope that, in a positive way, I hope we can do more of this. So certainly reach out if we can help you any other way.
Yeah, thank you. Hopefully we're not having more near-miss conversations.
Right.
Yeah, we'll just say that this will be the last time this will happen in West Metro, and we'll just close the door on that chapter. And
absolutely, we're getting ready to wrap up a really big academy. We've never had an academy this size. It's 46 people,
nice.
And so we have to dissect that and figure out how we can do better the next time. 46 people in an academy may not seem much to New York City, Chicago, or LA, but in our neck of the woods, it's a lot.
That's extreme.
We have to even look at that level, which is, an academy is nothing like a firefight, but the reality of it is it's just as important to dissect it and understand what we can do better and make those adjustments so the next time you have an academy, it runs smoother and more efficient.
Yeah, as you're trying to develop the hands-on skill sets of 46 people in a confined amount of time, that's got to be a tremendous logistical challenge.
Well, it has been, trying to figure out how many reps you need in order for them to all be,
right.
proficient.
Right.
And so we're going to take a peek at that, and maybe we can have a different lessons learned conversation a year from now about that concept.
Yeah, I would love that. I would love
let's go outside the box.
You're it's funny that you would talk about the challenges of having the large academy. You're not the first one who has told me about the pain that they're feeling from having academies that are 2 times larger than what they're normally used to having. But I haven't really had anybody tell me what they've learned from it and how they're doing things differently. All I've heard them say is, "We'll never have an academy this large again." Their lesson learned is, don't do that again.
Right.
Instead of how do we do it better the next time? Yeah. And because there's just a lot of organizations, mid-sized organizations like yourself, that over the course of time are going to have these periods where you have large turnover, which creates large openings, which creates many opportunities. Now, your academy of 46, is that just for your department, or is that a regional academy?
Yeah, 38 are ours.
Okay.
And then the remainder come from 2 other organizations who are kind of our partners.
Yeah.
And there's an advantage to having partners because they come to the table with instructors. Mm-hmm. And so, there's an economy of scale that comes into play that's beneficial, know. But there's downsides, I was telling somebody the other day, when you have a snowstorm and you have to clear the drill ground and work that drill into another day, it's easy to do with 10 people. It's tougher to do with 46 people.
Yeah.
Just from a apparatus standpoint and real estate standpoint, but I don't know if the right thing to do is to go big or not. But we're going to take a peek at it and look at a couple different models for the next go around.
Yeah.
But having said that, maybe you should come up with a lessons learned panel and give me a call and I'll sit in on it and we'll chat.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I'm going to make a note of it and find a handful of people who have that similar pain, and I'll just bring you all together and we'll do a group podcast and because I got a feeling there's lots of lessons to be shared from that experience as well. So
I think so.
Thank you again so much for
You're welcome.
For coming on and being part of the program.
You're welcome. You have a good rest of your day, and we'll chat soon.
Thank you, Division Chief Dan Phannenstiel, for sharing the details of your 2 fire incidents in Part 1 and then the lessons learned here in Part 2. If you've experienced or witnessed a near miss and would like to have a platform to share your lessons learned with others, please contact me by visiting the SA Matters website and clicking on the Contact Us link on the top of the homepage. Think about it for a moment. The lessons learned from your near-miss event could save the life of another first responder. That's really powerful. If you want to share your experience with me, contact me. Okay, as I always do, I want to take a moment to thank the departments and organizations that have hosted recent Situational Awareness Matters Tour Stop events. I do this to show my appreciation to the organizations who put forth the effort to organize, advertise, and fund great training experiences for their members and for their region. Your efforts to bring this valuable and powerful training on situational awareness and high-risk, high-consequence decision-making to your members and others are greatly appreciated. Recent tour stops included the Texas Intrastate Mutual Aid Association Conference, the Firefighter Fire Department just outside of Houston, the Iowa Fire Training Bureau in Ames, Iowa, the Overland Park Fire Department in Kansas, and where I am now, the Shawnee Fire Department in Shawnee, Oklahoma. By the time this episode airs, I will have completed my annual trek to the Boundary Waters Wilderness Canoe Area in northern Minnesota. I take this trip to the Boundary Waters every year, have since 2005. It's one of the highlights of my summer. I will have also just recently returned from the National Speakers Association annual convention in Phoenix, Arizona, where I was attending programs on how to sharpen my skills as a presenter. Then, next week, I'm going to be on a Boy Scout high adventure trip where I'm going to be sailing with my son off the tip of Florida. This marks the third Boy Scout high adventure trip that I've taken. This one will be interesting. No work distractions for me, no technology for him. I'll report back as to how that turned out. And then I'll be back on the road sharing the situational awareness message August 17, 19, and 20 at Fire Rescue International in San Antonio. Thank you to the International Association of Fire Chiefs for giving me the opportunity to present at FRI for more than 10 years in a row now, including the amazing opportunity I had to keynote the conference in Chicago a few years back. I'm deeply honored by your support of my message. August 22 to 26, I'll be doing a program called the Company Officer Development Institute in Zionsville, Indiana. This is the 24th time the Company Officer Development Institute program has been offered. What's it about? It's 1 week long, no PowerPoint, no book, no baloney, no BS, no theory, just practical skills that company officers need to be successful at the company level. Leadership, problem solving, conflict resolution, teamwork, those kind of skills. Essentially, teaching them how to keep the problems out of the fire chief's office. What a novel concept, right? Then the very next day, I'm staying over in Zionsville for an encore program of situational awareness. Then August 28th, I'll be at the Heartland Deerfield, Michigan Fire Department for a flawed situational awareness program. Hey, if you're anywhere in Michigan, Indiana, Illinois, or Wisconsin, this would be a great opportunity to companion as I'm driving to Indiana and then to Michigan and then back to Minnesota. So I'll be making this trek from Minnesota down through Wisconsin, Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, and then reversing the loop going back home. So if you wanted an evening or a one-day program somewhere in that time period, that'd be a great companion. September 8th, I'll be keynoting the Arizona State Fire School and Mesa. That'd be a good opportunity for a companion anywhere in Arizona. September 10th, the Upper Providence Township Fire Department in Pennsylvania, near Philadelphia. So if you're in Pennsylvania, Maryland, or New Jersey, there's a great companion opportunity. September 13th to 14th, the Horry County Fire Department in South Carolina. That's the Myrtle Beach area. That'd be a great companion opportunity for South Carolina or North Carolina. September 23rd at the Wisconsin Fire Chiefs Association Conference. I'll be delivering the keynote there. September 29th, a program for the Welcome Fire Department in Minnesota. September 30th, a program for the Sioux Falls Fire Department. I'm going to keynote their recruit class graduation and do a program for their leadership team. Thanks so much to all the program hosts. And here's hoping there'll be a tour stop near you and we'll get a chance to meet up. Hey, the last time I was delivering programs in southwest Minnesota, I stopped and visited my sponsor of this podcast show, Midwest Fire. Midwest Fire makes amazing, literally amazing, all-poly fire apparatus. When I was there, they showed me a piece of this poly that they put on the side of the truck. They took it out on a range and shot it with a .38 caliber pistol. It didn't even go through the plastic. That's how resilient this is. This is not the kind of plastic that cracks. This is the kind of plastic that has resiliency. It's incredible. You got to check them out. MidwestFire.com. Anyhow, while I was there, I got a chance to sit down and talk to some of their employees about what separates Midwest Fire from their competitors. Let's listen in as I learn what happens after the sale in the process of building your fire engine. All right, I've heard about the No Dealer Network. I've heard about how to get in contact with Midwest Fire. I've heard about the process of speccing a truck, and that's all good. What happens after the sale?
Currently, after the sale, everything gets turned over to myself as project manager. I will then lead you through the build process. If you call in, have questions on your truck, want to make changes to your truck, want updates on your truck, that will all filter through me then rather than the salesman at that time. We take pride in everything we do here. You've heard that many times. But what we want to focus on is making this the best experience we can for the fire department. It's not always easy to get a hold of your salesman, whether he's traveling or on the road or at shows where I'm in-house full-time. Have 100% control with the project manager as well as manufacturing manager of your truck going through the process.
So somebody calls you and they have a question, or they're saying, can we make this change or whatever. You literally just walk down the hall, out the door, and you're on the manufacturing floor talking with engineering or with the people who are actually building their truck, and you can do kind of real-time problem solving or adjusting on the specification?
Yep. What we do then, if there is changes to the truck, obviously there'd be a change order involved, but the response time is a lot quicker. Most of the departments we work with have a meeting once a month, the volunteer fire departments. So if they call in, have a meeting the next night, we're able to get an answer to them, a response to them right away, so we're not holding up the project while it's in production.
Super. Well, there you have it, folks. That's what differentiates Midwest Fire from their competitors. So check them out at MidwestFire.com. Thank you, Midwest Fire President Sarah Atchison, and all of your staff for your awesome commitment to improving first responder safety. I sincerely appreciate your support of my mission. Hey, if you're interested in seeing a list of the upcoming Situational Awareness Matters tour stop locations, head over to the SA Matters website and click on the blue box on the right side of the homepage, the blue one that says Upcoming Event Schedule. The schedule is always changing, so check back often. I want to share some feedback I received about a recent program. And I don't share this to brag, I just share it to say thank you to those who take the time to share with me what they learned. So this one comes from Ralph Brandt. It says, I'm a communications lieutenant on the volunteer search and rescue team, and I'm also a computer network specialist in a network operations center. And I am a local school board member. To some, it would seem that Chief Gasaway's training sessions would be far from relevant to me. Wrong. Dead wrong. And I'm seeing more and more that it applies in all of these and other settings as I wear several hats. Just yesterday, in a relatively safe environment of the Network Operations Center, we had an incident. Information was coming in from multiple sources, and there were multiple requests for directions and information. The other, quote-unquote, senior member of the group had taken the lead. Call that person the incident commander, if you will, because it's pretty close to what he did. I was filling the role of a staff support, keeping track of the information for him, making sure that he didn't miss critical inputs. I do not know how your teachings apply on the fireground, as I'm not a firefighter, but I can say if what your teachings are as relevant on the fireground as they were to me in the Network Operations Center, I can no doubt see all the need for everyone to listen collectively and good communications. Thanks, Ralph. I appreciate your feedback. If you want to give me some feedback, you can just go to samatters.com and click on the Contact Us link and send me an email. I really would appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed to the SA Matters podcast yet, please consider taking a moment going over to iTunes or Stitcher Radio. While you're there, you can also leave feedback on iTunes. If you like the program, give it a 5-star review. It's really important because it motivates me to work harder for you. A lot of time and effort goes into producing and recording and editing these shows and lining up the guests, and your feedback lets me know that you appreciate it. In case you didn't know, I've written 5 books on situational awareness. These books contain critical lessons for improving your situational awareness and decision-making under stress. Why would you want any of them? Because this is a big topic, a huge topic. It's so often implicated in near misses and casualties. There's a lot to learn. If you're interested in any of these books or any of the videos that I have, just go to the SA Matters online store right on the website. Click on the store link. You can also get the books through Amazon if you're interested in that. I've signed the books that are ordered through my website. The ones from Amazon, I can't do that because they ship directly to you from Amazon. If you're not a member of the SA Matters community of learners yet, you can become a member. More than 5,000 people are connected here on SA Matters, learning how to be resilient problem solvers and have good situational awareness. Membership is free. When you sign up, you'll receive a special report I've created just for the new members called 25 Best Practices for Improving First Responder Safety. If you're not a member yet, head over to the SA Matters website, click on the red box, the red one, on the right side of the homepage. It says free membership. If you want to get connected on social media, you can follow me on Twitter, at Rich Gasaway, or at SA Matters on Twitter. The SA Matters Twitter community is almost 17,000 members strong. Thanks for everybody who comes along on the ride on Twitter. Also on Facebook, I have a private Facebook page, facebook.com/groups/SA Matters. There's a 50% discount coupon code in the private Facebook group for my newest book. That'll save you $20. On LinkedIn, you can find me by searching Rich Gasaway on LinkedIn. And if you want to watch some videos, I have a YouTube channel. SA Matters TV is the YouTube channel. Well, that's it. Episode 119 is complete. Thank you again to my guest, Division Chief Dan Phannenstiel, for sharing your incredible near-miss story and your lessons learned with our listeners. Thank you to our sponsor, Midwest Fire. Thank you to our live event hosts, and especially thank you, our listeners, for sharing some of your valuable time with me today. If it weren't for you, we'd have no show. I really appreciate your support of the SA Matters mission. Be safe out there, and may the peace of the Lord and strong situational awareness be with you always.
You've been listening to the Situational Awareness Matters radio show with Dr. Richard B. Gasaway. If you are interested in learning more about situational awareness, human factors, and decision-making under stress, visit samatters.com. If you are interested in booking Dr. Gasaway for an upcoming event, visit his personal website at richgasaway.com.